Well, you should have learned by now. That means the lovely Rita Trotter is on the end of the line, bespoked with great headphones and microphone, looking very, well, I don't know, industrious is one way, and very efficient. Good morning.
I would have thought I'd look a bit more like a call centre operative right now.
Yeah, I mean,
help?
if you want to be a call centre operative, you can be, but but maybe you brighten the whole call centre up. Anyway, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you keeping today?
I'm good. We missed you last week. That's because you were unable to be here, but all is well now, which is a great thing. Now, before we start, I know you got a subject matter, but I said to you just off air a little while ago that I found something that I thought was quite interesting now, and this may well be right up your street. I'm going to read this to you now.
Okay.
And it's odd that there are times whereby you come across something. You're not looking for anything in particular. It just happens. This says, as long as you feel pain, you're still alive. As long as you make mistakes, you're still human. And as long as you keep trying, there's still hope. It's quite a lot to be said for that, isn't there?
Couldn't agree more. Most of us run away from pain because why wouldn't you? But problems are a sign of life. You know, the only people in the world who don't have pain, don't have problems, are 6 foot under. And we don't want to be like that, do we? We want to have proof that we're here. Life is about feeling, and all feeling, regardless of whether it's a painful one or not, is giving you something and is telling you something. And as long as we can respect those feelings as necessary and essential to our growth as a human being, then we can use them to a better advantage. So absolutely, couldn't agree more.
Yeah, that's just it's sometimes as you come across and they're quite poignant and they sort of they make an impact, and they're simple words, but they put them together and that's what happens. Anyway, listen, right, that's back to today. What are we talking about today, please, young Rita?
What are we talking about today? So today we are talking about acid versus alkali in the body and what effect it has on losing weight, on health in general. So most people's diets these days are completely acidic. So most of the foods and drinks that we consume create a massive level of acid in the body. So I want you to think for a second. Let's take a virus. Let's take something. All right, the flu. Yeah, let's take the flu. Common flu. Millions of people a year get the flu. What time of year does the flu tend to be more prevalent? Is it during the holiday season or is it during the normal working season? Which one?
Well, I would say, my wording would be the winter time. It would normally, when the weather is less than favourable.
Okay. So most of the flu starts to occur somewhere between beginning of December and beginning of February. So what happens in that time period? Yes, it's cold, but the flu is prevalent at this time of year also in countries like Australia, in countries like Colombia, where it's not cold, it's the opposite. It's an extreme of heat. So if we take cold out of it for a second and just say extreme of temperature, what happens in most countries across the world between beginning of December and beginning of February?
Well, obviously, it's a change in weather, and it's also people sort of getting together, and a lot of people mixing over, the Christmas holiday period. What else?
Okay, so Christmas, New Year, so big sort of celebrations, yeah?
Yeah.
And do you think in that period of time, people maybe eat and drink more than they normally would?
Possibly. I wouldn't know anybody in this studio that would do that. I really couldn't comment.
And so when people get together, and let's say it's for a Christmas work do, they get together, maybe they eat, 3 courses, whereas normally they'd had one. Are those courses built up of lots of carbohydrates? So things like potato, Yorkshire puddings, gravy, chocolate fondants.
All right. Steady on now, because I had breakfast yet, so calm yourself, but yes.
Okay. So most people go, oh, I don't want to go out around this time. I don't want to catch a cold. I don't want germs. Germs don't make you sick. Germs are a sign of life.
Right.
Viruses, by the way, have never actually been proven to be alive, but germs themselves are a sign of life. Germs, there are millions and billions and trillions, sorry to gross anybody out, but living in you all the time. It's the level of our body in terms of acidity that allows those germs to then actually proliferate and cause symptoms.
Right.
So, for instance, the flu, what are the symptoms of the flu?
Well, coughing, sneezing, temperatures, hot, cold, feeling lethargic, and generally meh.
Okay, cool. So shivering, sweating, shaking, aching. Now, if I said to you those kind of symptoms, do you think someone who's been poisoned and is trying to get some sort of poison out of their body, do you think they might do the same? Sweat, maybe. Yeah, so similar things. And it's because we have built over these periods of time such high acidity that essentially we're poisoning ourselves and allowing the environment of our body to be a breeding ground.
Right.
So, for instance, if you go to a city and the binmen haven't been because they're on strike, right? And you see rubbish piled up 2 foot high, there's inevitably going to be rats. But did the rats cause the rubbish or did the rubbish cause the rats?
Yeah. Okay. Right. I see what you're saying.
Yep. Same thing. So if we create a massively acid pH level in our body, it attracts illnesses from the viruses and the germs. And the acidity level is caused by essentially overindulgence of glucose. So these acid loves glucose. Glucose comes from most obviously sugary things, but it also comes from an overabundance of very starchy carbohydrates. So because there might be people who go, well, I don't eat any sugar. Well, if you eat potato, if you eat pasta, if you eat rice, all of these products, you do. So it creates a breeding ground for acidity to increase, and therefore your susceptibility to these sort of germs and viruses to increase. And one of the biggest things that we need to do as a society is start to bring our pH level down and actually start to become more alkaline. And one of the best ways to do that is greenery. So, I am not someone who would ever advocate going on a juice diet, but adding certain things like, the generic term is green juice into your diet. And you got to be a bit careful here because some of them are just absolute piles of rubbish. But bringing in certain things like celery juice, certain things like cucumber juice, like cucumber is awesome for balancing pH levels. Bringing things like that in help to counteract. And you need to be drinking it in quite a large amount. So I'm talking about sort of maybe 1.5 liters a day.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because of the amount of acid. So if I look at someone's normal diet, I would see, if we put it in percentages and sort of make it simple, I'd see probably about 85% acid, 15% alkali. And what happens is that acid, first of all, creates an environment where body fat is unable to be shed. So the acid, when it's so acidic, so imagine you've got, we're completely full. Imagine you've got a cup and it's overflowing, right? So it's so acid that it's overflowing. It's used up all the glucose stores that it wants to use. So the next thing it needs to use is body fat. So it holds on to body fat because it allows it to proliferate. So being too acidic is one of the major reasons why people can't lose weight, even if they go in a complete ridiculous calorie deficit. And it's also because a lot of the time people go and train in the gym, for instance, really hard. So let's say someone's trying to lose weight and they go, oh my God, I'm so stressed. This is horrendous. Stress and fear, acid goes up. They go, oh, I need to go and exercise and I'm going to go all in and I'm going to go crazy. And then they go for like a 10-mile run, or they go and see a personal trainer who basically beats them to death in a training session. When you train that hard, what happens? It creates even more acidity because your body will produce lactic acid. So again, we go and train really hard and our acidity level goes up and up and up. And then they go, I'm annoyed. I was about to say something else. I'm annoyed because I'm training really hard 5 times a week. I'm eating 1,000 calories and I can't lose weight. And it's because the way that they're doing it is creating such a high level of acidity that the body fat won't be lost. They're going to get sick. Their immune system's going to be low. And it's simple things that need to be corrected in the diet. So, drink green juice, eat green vegetables. It's really, really good counteraction.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. So basically, more greens would help you with your body levels and stuff. But is it a case where people don't know what volumes or levels of stuff to take? And of course, each person is different anyway. What would apply to you, for example, wouldn't apply to me, and vice versa. So at what point do we manage to find what that balance is? Or is it a preconceived thing that you're saying about a litre and a half of green juice a day, which I have to say, from my point of view, the whole concept of that is like, that sounds terrible. It may not be. I haven't tried it. But it doesn't actually float my boat from a visual or verbal perspective. So how are those levels determined from person to person?
From person to person, that would then need for them to speak to someone who could actually help them understand it, because the level of diet that most people are eating at the moment, you would need probably 1.5 litres to 3 litres of the juice to kind of counteract. But if you changed your diet in the first place and what you were eating, you wouldn't need to balance it to the same extremes. But that is something that within a 10-minute radio slot show, I wouldn't be able to give any specifics on, because each person is completely different. So for me, I will do an analysis and then base it on that, because each person is completely different. So it would be something where that they would probably want to go and seek someone's professional help to actually understand that in a relationship to their own personal circumstance. But as a generic rule, the more greens, the better.
Okay. All right. Ray from Stevenage has been on. He says that apparently the idea of having a healthy diet is great and it is a lot better. And obviously he agrees with the fact that, people meet up during Christmas, New Year, that kind of thing. Yep. And the winter time. However, he went on to, I won't use exact words as you modified your linguistics then. He went on to say that if he had that much greenery and stuff, he'd end up in the small room for a great portion of the day, which is probably not conducive for getting on with work. All right. So listen, as you're in that business and people want to find out more, how would they get in touch with you to find out what's suitable for them?
If anyone wanted to chat about it more and actually look at how they could modify their diet so they don't have to drink 1.5 litres and whatever the modified language might be, which I can appreciate, then email me at Rita at thehealthandfitnesscoach.co.uk, or you can find all of my contact details on www.thehealthandfitnesscoach.co.uk. Fantastic.
Rita, it's been a pleasure, and I'm glad you're getting better, and we'll speak to you soon. You take care.
Fantastic. See you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.